In a quiet village nestled in the hills, one rule echoed through generations: never invest. To the villagers, investing was just gambling in disguise. Stocks were scams, and anyone who dared speak of them was met with whispers: they'll lose everything. No one knew when the fear started. Maybe it was Old Man Theo, who lost his savings in something called the market. Or maybe the fear simply felt safer than risking the unknown. Whatever the reason, the result was the same: nobody invested. But here's the thing: how does a whole village decide that building wealth is the same as throwing dice? And what happens when someone finally challenges that belief? This is the story of how a myth can grip an entire community and the quiet spark that begins to unravel it.
Years ago, the village tried once. A group of locals pooled their savings into what they were told was a can't-miss opportunity, a mysterious venture led by an outsider. The returns were promised, the risks denied. Then, it collapsed. Overnight, people lost everything. That story echoed louder than any success ever could. It was retold at dinner tables, around fires, even whispered during weddings. But it wasn't told as a lesson in due diligence. It became a warning. Investing is how fools lose their money. Over time, the details faded. Who the outsider was, what the deal even involved, nobody remembered. What stuck was the pain, and the pain turned into proof. Parents passed that fear down like a family recipe. Don't gamble your money away, they'd say, with stern voices and tired eyes. Kids soaked it in. They never questioned it. Why would they? Even when outsiders shared stories of growing wealth, the villagers scoffed. Probably lucky, they'd mutter, or lying. And just like that, a single mistake hardened into a belief, a cultural truth, defended not with logic, but with fear. The fear wasn't just about losing money anymore. It was about losing trust.
One day, a stranger arrived. He didn't sell anything. He didn't promise riches. He just observed. He listened to the way villagers spoke about money, always with caution, often with fear. And one evening, as a small crowd gathered by the fountain, he finally asked, "Why do you believe investing is gambling?" The crowd chuckled. Some rolled their eyes. One old man barked, "Because it is." But the stranger didn't argue. Instead, he pulled out a seed. "If I plant this," he said, "it won't grow overnight. I'll have to water it, protect it, wait through storms. It might take years, but eventually, it'll feed my family for decades." He paused. "Now imagine I roll a pair of dice. Maybe I win big, maybe I lose it all. That's gambling. Investing," he said softly, "is planting. Gambling is rolling. One builds, one bets." Some villagers laughed him off. Others stared, curious. No one had ever explained it that way before. No one had ever compared it to something they understood: farming. The conversation was short. The stranger left early the next morning. But what he said didn't. It echoed, especially in the minds of a few, those quietly tired of being afraid.
A few weeks passed. Life in the village went on. The same routines, the same warnings. But in quiet corners, something new stirred. 3 villagers, Lena, Tomas, and Yari, couldn't shake the stranger's words. They didn't have much, but they began to read, to ask questions. They found stories, not of gambling, but of people who patiently built wealth over time. It felt unfamiliar, but also empowering. Together, they tried something small. Lena invested in a local farmer who needed tools, and in return, got a share of the harvest. Tomas put money into a growing delivery business in a nearby town. Yari bought a small piece of a company he'd never heard of before, but believed in. They didn't get rich overnight. In fact, for months, nothing happened. No excitement, no big wins, just progress, quiet, steady, and real. But something else changed.
They started planning, saving with purpose, talking about the future in ways they never had before. Their minds shifted from fear to strategy. Meanwhile, others in the village still chased luck, playing lotteries, betting on games, buying into too good to be true promises, and most of them lost, again and again. The contrast became impossible to ignore. One path was slow, deliberate, and empowering. The other was fast, reckless, and empty. And people started to notice, not just what they gained, but who they were becoming. A mindset was changing. One investment, one choice, one person at a time.
A year later, the village wasn't the same. The change didn't come from money, it came from mindset. People talked differently. Investing was no longer a dirty word. Fear gave way to curiosity. Lena's harvest share idea inspired more ventures. Tomas helped launch a co-op. Jari taught teens how to research companies. The three, once dismissed, were now seen as guides. Even the skeptics began to listen. Not everyone invested, but they started learning. And in that learning, the village found something it hadn't felt in years: hope. The old cautionary tales still existed, but now they came with a second half, not just about loss, but about wisdom. The belief that investing is gambling didn't vanish, but it cracked, then it crumbled. And in its place, something new grew: the idea that wealth could be built patiently, thoughtfully, and by anyone. The village didn't just change its finances, it changed its future. And maybe, just maybe, the stranger knew the most powerful investment wasn't in money, it was in mindset.
If this story shifted your perspective, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who needs a new way to see money.